While the ongoing pandemic has posed huge challenges for us at PVPA to stay connected as a community of students and artists, are becoming familiar with how to do that while not together physically has actually opened doors. The Visual Art and Technical Theater Department has taken this opportunity to reach out to a network of artists that extends far beyond our region. Each week we'll be talking with a different artist who will share stories of their path to and through the arts. And in doing this, our students will get a chance to see where the work that we do at PVPA might lead them in the future. Thank you so much for being here. And I would love if you could take us way back in memory lane and talk to us about sort of your initial interest in the arts and how that pulled you to PVPA, and then sort of talk about the beginning of your journey that carried you to where you're at now in the world.
I know. Wow. It's been quite some time. So hi, I'm Devan. I graduated in 2007, I'm pretty sure. And I have always been very interested in the visual arts, especially things that are like costumes and fantasy and characters creations. When I was little, I was always, my dress up box was like two closets, and I loved drawing scenery and like putting on plays and things like that. And as I got older, I, really honed in an interest in, okay, I want to do something expressive. And that led me to PVPA. And originally I was like, yeah, maybe I want to be like an actor or something. And like, I feel like 3 months into school, I was like, nah, nope, I can't be on the stage. I like to be behind the scenes. And I think, what led me to makeup, I did costuming, and I was really into, doing my friend's hair like after school. And I always felt like makeup was something that really completed a character and is kind of, at least back in my day before the YouTube and the Instagram, like it was pretty underrated as a skill. It was just like, yeah, what are you talking about? Like makeup, it's whatever. And I was just always really taken by a lot of like movies. Like Labyrinth is my favorite movie, and that had like a very big impact on me. Dramatic glitter and everything. And yeah, it just sort of, I would say it kind of came organically. Like I remember bringing my makeup to school and like doing people's makeup at lunch just for fun. We would just wear like crazy stuff, and that was one of the things that was so great about PVPA, is that I felt like you could just express yourself however and you were welcome, and nobody was like, what a weirdo, unless they were like, oh, you wore the same matching socks, like not two different socks. No, just kidding. But it was just such a wonderful environment to be able to do stuff like that. And after I graduated, I was like, well, maybe I should like go to college and like be like a writer maybe or something. Like I don't know how to make a living off of this, but I decided to go to cosmetology school with the idea like, okay, well, I can try hair, like hairstylist. You always need a hairstylist. That's kind of like a safe bet, and it'll give me an opportunity to like see what I actually feel like doing. Um, and that was really fun, but I have always felt way more drawn to makeup than to hair. And so I started living in Boston, and I did a little retail makeup, and I was trying to do photo shoots and, just sort of testing the waters in a lot of different ways. And I think the older I got, the more I realized I really wanted to do something that, I don't know how to put it, like elicits like a meaning, like there's like a meaning behind like what the look is. And I feel like that really drew me to film because of the idea of creating characters. And there was a lot of that at PVPA too. We, as you know, I mean, I don't know how it is now, but there's a lot of opportunities to try a lot of different things. And I think that was really helpful because it was just a great way to see, okay, I'm not sure if that's for me, but I like this element of it. And I remember puppetry was really awesome, and just the idea of making characters. So I decided to go to school in LA. I first was trying to stay close to home, so I was like looking in New York, and that there wasn't really what I wanted. And a little further I looked in Toronto, and that wasn't really what I wanted. And then I went on a trip to LA and visited a school, and I was like, nuts, I'm gonna go across the country and do a special effects makeup school. And I did that in 2012. And it has been a great fit, and that's what I've been doing ever since. I still live in LA, and last year I joined the union here for film and television, and that was a really big goal of mine. It's super competitive. It's really hard to join the makeup artists union, and so I was really ready for like a nice 2020. We're gonna be on a lot of sets, and that didn't really happen. But I have still done a lot of really cool stuff leading up to joining the union. So I don't know. Should I put the slide?
Yeah, let's
Okay.
we got a visual gang here, so let's look at some of your work.
Okay. All right. Martin taught me how to screen share, but I'm not that good at it. So bear with me.
She's a pro already. She's
Okay.
She's being humble.
Okay, doing it. And then I press, where's the thing to start it? Present.
Boom.
All right. Cool. So this is the front page of my website. It is one of my favorite makeups that I have ever done. Maybe I should have put that picture first, but I really love the idea of creating characters. Like I've said, I think my ideal aesthetic is like something in the fantasy realm, that maybe it goes creepy, maybe it goes pretty. Yeah, something just really fantastic. So let's get into it. Okay. So this is a self-portrait I did. A big way of how I got started or got practice or figured out what I like to do was just working on myself, which I think a lot of people are getting more into these days. Yeah, so I got really into doing self-portraits, and that was a big way of how I learned different products and trying stuff, because it feels like there's a lot less like at risk when you're just messing around at home, like on yourself. So here's another one that I did. It's kind of like a sea person. All right, and this is the makeup that is on the front of my website. This was actually for a makeup competition that I did right out of school, called IMATS, which is like the International Makeup Artists Trade Show. And this was for Fantasy Beauty, and I won, which was cool. But I think like the reason why this was such a successful makeup is because it really like represented a lot of the textures and colors that I really cared about and was really passionate about. So I just did what I at the time was super into, and it worked out. So there's like a full image. I did like the costume, I did the whole shebang. And then, so this was my final in makeup school in special effects class. It's funny, like looking at it now, I'm like, oh, I wish I could have changed that. I wish I could have, done this, but I'm still pretty happy with it. And one of the things that is so great about the school that I chose to go to in LA, Cinema Makeup School, is that a lot of their teachers are active artists in the industry. So it felt like a really good way to make connections and learn from people that are actually doing like what I was trying to do. And I did this makeup, and my teacher at the time, he was like, I have a director that I know that's doing this super low budget movie, and that he's really looking for a creature design, and you should meet with him and show him this. And that was like pretty much right after I graduated. So I ended up actually booking this movie because they wanted to use my design. And now that I'm thinking about it, I really should have found a picture of what it looked like in the movie, because we ended up changing the paint scheme. We made it red, because we had the molds, so you can just run however many prosthetics you want and paint them however you want. But this is from that movie on the right. The left is just like a little fun zombie friend from I think it was like a YouTube video from a while ago. But yeah, again, having fun with textures, love doing that. So I sort of right out the gate got kind of into the horror genre. And yeah, just some fun little demon friends from that movie as well.
Hey, Devan, just one of our students is curious which school you went to.
Cinema makeup school. It seems like it's pretty popular now. When I went there, it was definitely like well renowned, but I think it's kind of like gone. I think Face Off really like made things happen, that TV show. A lot of people on Face Off I know, and I know from school. And school was really, really, really great. My friend who was in that first makeup I showed, she is still one of my close friends. We work together all the time. She worked on this movie right here with me. So I remember when we were in school, they like on one of the first days, they were like, look around, one of you is gonna pop and go places. And if you build your team now of people that you trust and that you work well with, you can all, go places. Like success for one of us is success for all of us, which really stuck with me. And yeah, a lot of my coworkers and friends to this day are still people I met in school. Let's see. Okay, this angry friend is from this movie actually just came on Hulu, right? Like I discovered last night, which is cool. This is one of the other movies that I worked on. I guess before I get into it, I should say another thing that someone said to me in school that I thought was really valuable was you need 2 out of 3 things to like make it in the industry. You need to be the best at what you do, you need to be the best to be around, or you need to know the right people. So I liked that. And it's true, a lot of the jobs that I've gotten has sort of been like a daisy chain of events where I'm like, oh yeah, I did like a random commercial with this person and we got on really well. And a year later, they were like, hey, do you want to do a movie together? So that's a lot of the work that I get comes from just people I know. There's not like a job application site very often. Like you tell the union you're available, but yeah. This was a really, really fun project because it sort of combined some fantastic elements with just very grounded characters. Let's see, there's another cool shot. This actor is Finn Whitrock. He is in Ratchet right now, which is cool, but he was super down to, wear makeup, wear contacts, just you really get the character right. And he saw the value of the complete picture, which I always really love when there's like a director or an actor that really wants to collaborate on, the look and what makes the character. So there's Aubrey, she was our other lead, and she was really wonderful. And her look was very soft and innocent, kind of a contrast to Finn's look. Ah, cool. There's Brendan Urie from Panic at the Disco. So I don't only do movies and TV, I also work with some musicians doing like celebrity grooming, one-on-one. This was at the Billboard Music Awards 2 years ago. And again, that daisy chain of events, I ended up working with Brendan because one of my good friends that I met on a random movie through another producer moved to Hawaii. And so he gave me Brendan as a client. And well, you know, working with like male grooming, celebrity kind of stuff, it's not as like glittery and flashy and whatever. But there is another part of being a makeup artist that I love so much, which is the taking care of people aspect. You know, you're really, really close to the talent that you're working on. You're the first thing they see at the start of the day, you know, they are the most vulnerable with you. And it is very intimate to kind of, you know, oftentimes you meet someone and then 30 seconds later, like your hands are all over their face and you're like right here. Pre-COVID. Well, I guess post-COVID too. You just have a mask on now.
Devan, one of our students is curious if he's a cool person in person and not
He
just.
is wonderful. He is so nice, so sweet. He remembers the name of my cats. He will sit down and eat lunch with the crew. He really, really is a sunshine human, and I really love working with him. I've been working with him for, I guess, since 2017. And we've done a few music videos together. I think there's a picture. Okay, so this was really fun. This was for the music video for Hey Look Ma, I Made It. And the puppet artist and I have like a really strong resemblance to each other. And it was really funny on set because I was watching the monitor and she's on set like grooming the puppet. And I'm like, this looks like me. Like I'm seeing like an alternate dimension of like me working on this puppet and then I'm working on this human. And it was really funny. So we had to take a picture of us working together on the puppet and the human, Brendan. But he is a very gracious person. He is a very active person. So it is a pretty hands-on job coiffing him. And, you know, every time I run up to touch him up, every 35 seconds, he says thank you. He makes eye contact. You know, I've never seen him throw a diva fit or whatever. So if you are a fan, I think that is awesome. And then, yeah, this was also from the Billboard Awards with Taylor Swift. They did a fancy little number together with lots of wire work and stuff. And that was cool, you know, being behind the scenes and like seeing all these huge stars. And I'm just like, oh, cool. I'm just working on this guy over here. But I think like, you know, being able to see celebrities or whatever, just like as people and not, you know, coming in with like preconceived notions. I am not very good at celebrity culture, which maybe like helps me out when I'm working because I'm like, who are you? What do you do? Oh, cool. I feel like a bit of a grandma sometimes. But yeah, I don't like to psych myself out or anything. That being said, I was very nervous the first time I worked with Brendan because his hair is really tricky. And my friend who had been doing his hair is amazing. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to throw up. But he was super nice. Everyone was super nice. I didn't do that good of a job, but they gave me constructive criticism and asked me back. So it was great. I think that's it with Brendan.
I showed those two images earlier, or the images that are Getty images, and people are like, why are you pulling up Getty images for work? And I had to, you know, mention like as artists, especially backstage artists who are literally shoved backstage, it's really hard to document your work, right? So well, like.
And also, you know, working with celebrities, they are, from my experience, extremely particular about what images get out there. I don't think Brendan himself doesn't care like at all, but his team, you know, they like to maintain the privacy of locations and this and that. And so I'm like, I'm just gonna pull from Google and be like, oh, I was there, like right behind the stage, you know, waiting with a little hand fan and a paper towel so I can like mop them up. Everyone's like, oh, it's so glamorous. And I'm like, I am a glorified sweat dabber. Like, yeah, anyone who is interested in getting into makeup, a little pocket hand fan is like the secret weapon for sure, especially for active, you know, performers. So the next thing I'd like to talk about is Melanie Martinez. She is a pop star. She's kind of an alternative pop star, and she is really interesting because she likes to have a lot of creative control with costume, with hair, with makeup, with set, everything. And a couple years ago, she put together a film for her new album called K through 12. And through my friend, who is the face of my website that I still work with, I ended up working on this movie as the makeup department head, which ended up shooting in Budapest, Hungary for 2 months, which was crazy. It was an extremely difficult job because it was a very ambitious project. I believe K through 12 is on YouTube. If you want to check it out, it is super, super beautiful. And working with her was kind of a dream because I have a few things from the video here. Our styles really meshed really, really well together, and she generally does her own makeup. And I think when you work with someone who usually does their own thing, it is a big like a trust exercise to give over creative control to somebody else. So I think, you know, she and I like really vibed. We did some prep before we started shooting, and a lot of our ideas just went hand in hand. So, you know, working on this film was pretty much a dream come true, but it was extremely difficult filming conditions. And you know, it's hard when I'm sure, you know, you're all artists, you know, when you like put your heart and soul into something and outside elements get in the way and you don't have enough time, or something doesn't happen the way that you think it is going to happen, and things can get kind of frustrating. So I think this project, pretty much of anything I've done, is very near and dear to my heart. But also sometimes even now I'm like, oh, I wish I would have like done that, or like had a little bit more time to, you know, spend on that. But this was really, really fun because we got to do so many different looks. She has a lot of versatile character choices. It was a mix of fantasy, vintage. The hair was obviously amazing. I had no part in that. She has an amazingly talented hairstylist. Let's see, I think I have some more. Yeah, and then the left is from the film, and then the right was, we did Jimmy Kimmel together, and that was really fun. We got to do something really like sparkly and cool. But another reason why the film was so great is because it follows this character from kindergarten to 12th grade, but it's more about her journey as a person and how she grows. And I think getting a chance to show that with makeup, even subtle details that I think a lot of people, you know, they see the costume, they see the hair, like this project it wasn't about trying to be like the showiest and do like the craziest makeup that I could do. It was about bringing harmony to it. And even the small details, like, you know, when she's older, she gets liner and false lashes. When she's younger, she gets, you know, very soft look. And I think it sometimes makeup is overlooked because you're not supposed to necessarily notice it always. It's supposed to balance everything. And I felt really good about that. And another fun fact about this movie is that Melanie herself is heavily tattooed, but her character is not. So 3:30 in the morning, freezing cold trailer, we were blasting this poor girl with airbrushes, covering up arms, legs, chest, like a lot. So there's tattoo cover is a very fun and often underrated art of makeup art as well, because it is not easy.
Just so you know, Devin, some of our gang are freaking out in the chat right now. They're I think envious of you getting to work with these individuals. So.
Oh, well, they are two of my favorite people that I've worked with. She is a real doll, and I have a lot of love for her and for this project. I think, this project the filming conditions were just really, really, really challenging physically, emotionally, and all of us persevered because of our love for her and our belief in the project and the music, which was awesome. So yeah, I think that's my last Melanie. But if you've seen K through 12 and you have any questions about it, any specific scenes, like anything, I am clearly very passionate about the project. So I am down to answer whatever.
One student wants to know which music videos you worked on, if that's the case. And I realize you may hit those through your later slides, but we can circle back to that.
So I did not do her most recent project, the bakery. I did not have a part in that. Things are a little different now in the COVID times, so crews are shaping up a little differently. But K through 12 was my first project with Mel, and I did the press afterwards, the premiere, the Jimmy Kimmel, and she did like an artist series on YouTube, which was really cool. And we got to that was really fun because we got to build on some of the things that we had like started doing in K through 12 when we were like, oh, this like glitter look is really cool. And she got really into the bottom lashes and certain things. So doing the artist series on YouTube was a really fun opportunity to be like, it doesn't have to match anything. Like, we've got time. Like, let's just like get weird with it. I didn't put a picture in. I should have like talked this through to the empty air so I could like see where I needed to add other pictures. But there is a part in K through 12 for the song High School Sweethearts, which is my favorite song, where she is body painted in glitter. And that was like a real high point for me. She's like in this bed and there's a moon and like her skin is sparkling, and like all of my little dreams were just like coming true right there. I was like, glitter body paint, I love it. That was really fun. Everyone else in the trailer did not think it was as fun as I did, because I'm pretty sure there's still glitter in that trailer years later. All right, let's see what my next thing is. Oh, this was actually a test makeup for K through 12. We were trying to do this like plastic look on some of the other students in the movie, and we were experimenting with having like an unnatural color highlight, so they looked like plastic. So they were like the ones that were drinking the Kool-Aid and trying to be like the popular kids. Let's see. Okay, so now we get into the Dark. Into the Dark is a show on Hulu that's an anthology, and it is one of my other longest projects that I've worked on. It is basically like we made a movie a month for different holidays, like loosely for different holidays, but I think of it like kind of like boot camp, where we were filming for 3 weeks while we're prepping the next one. You get a week in between that you're prepping, going to meetings, and then you start work right on the next episode. But this show was amazing. I was the makeup department head for most of 2019. And this is the show that helped me get into the union, because you need specific hours and days, and it's a lot of hoops. And this was one of our fun characters on my 3rd episode, called Uncanny Annie. And she is a spooky little pal. And there's a picture of her in the trailer and a picture of her on the screen. And this was a really great project because every episode was a different director, oftentimes a different director of photography, and the rest of the crew was pretty much the same. But it was really interesting to work with so many different directors so quickly and see how our visions could come together based on time constraints, money constraints. And I think it was such a great show that we did make some very cool stuff. Some of it is a little cheesy, but some of it was really fun. And it was a great mix of character, blood work, fantasy. There was a really fun glitter episode, which, as you may have guessed by now, I'm really passionate about glitter. So this was our Halloween episode. There's another shot of her, our awesome actress, Carlisha. She was amazing and super scary. And there's another scary fella. That's the prankster. This one was like about, it's kind of like Jumanji. They're like playing a game and then it like all is real and, you know, pretty much. But it's really fun to see how things translate onto screen versus just in the trailer. And this is a great example of casting an actor who is already like 60% of the way there with like his hair and his facial hair. And so this is like a paint and powder makeup, just like the other character. And I gave him creepy, gross teeth. And that was really fun. And that was a fun through line for everybody. So like those little details are what make me like really excited. It's stuff that's like, okay, all the characters have like creepy, gross mouths. And that's how you know they're like from the dark dimension or, you know, whatever. Yeah, there we are together. There, and I gave him a creepy nail. I was really into that too. I love doing hands and teeth are underrated. Let's see. And there's another, he was supposed to be dead. The way that they lit this episode, that's another thing that you have to think about with makeup is lighting. I ended up going pretty aggressively, in my opinion, almost comical, but because of the way it was lit on screen, it looked right. But in the chair, I'm like, okay, this is gonna be like a lot, like a bit, you know, Halloween. But yeah, there, if you're lucky, you can ask for, you know, checking on camera. I want to see how it is on monitor, and then bring him back, and you know, so it's a dance that we play. This was a slit throat prosthetic for one of our fallen characters. I included this picture so you can see what it looks like unpainted. This is a silicone piece and it has a little bladder underneath it, and you can see, I think yeah, you can see it on that side. The hose goes into that little bladder, and then we're crouched down behind the chair that she's sitting in, pumping blood. So, you know, they generally, with a blood gag, it's a lot of fun. They say, okay, we're only gonna do this once. We got one shot at it. We just only one time. That is a lie 100% of the time. 100% of the time. So you always have to be ready with like a million hands and bags of things to start mopping up the blood and resetting it. And silicone is great because it's very durable. So you can really like wipe it down and clean it up and reset. And I think I have a picture of her in the aftermath. There she is. what a hard time she's had, but she's still so chipper about it. And this was fun. I always love doing a slit throat or a blood gag. This show had a lot of slit throats, so we got pretty good at them. There's another one. This is me and my assistant Mia taking it off. This is a foam piece, and in this instance, we had to buy something pre-made that luckily fit our actor quite well. And here we are taking it off after he was killed in the shower. It was a very intense moment. I think I have a picture of that. Yeah, there he is. So that's pre-blood and everything. It was a little hairy, literally, because blending it into his beard on his jaw was a little tricky because it came up like to about there. But you kind of learn when to fuss on things and when to just let it go and be like, we're probably not going to see it. And, I'm going to focus on a good blood spray. And then our killer did like the salt thing with glitter on top of him afterwards. It was for our New Year's episode, which was really fun. There's another little prosthetic. That's just a fun little zombie bite. Also silicone. And our wonderful actor let me shave a very strange patch on his leg. Quite nice. This is from another episode. These are our actor on the left and our stunt double on the right. And we were calling it the Ellen wig. It was a fun little wig. I really love taking pictures of actors and stunt people together. I just think it's fun. I think I have another one. Yeah, there we go. This was from our Thanksgiving episode, Pilgrim, which is maybe one of my favorites. It was a ton of fun. This was a great example of how a director can really influence the mood on set. There was a lot to do. There was a lot of blood. There was a lot of chaos, and he was in the best mood you've ever seen every single day. So sometimes on set when you're working really long hours, you can get cranky and tired, and it's all very reasonable. But when your director is just like having the best time, it's hard to fight that mood and not be like, yeah, you know what? This is really fun. We're just like spraying blood all over a house, and these crazy pilgrims are attacking people, and it's all funny. That was a fun horror comedy mix.
Devan, we had a question about the experience of the actors, what having a prosthetic on literally feels like, and what it's
yeah.
like.
So I think it definitely depends on the piece. I think a big policy of mine is I like to know what it feels like. So I think going to school is a great example of that, because we all did makeup on each other. So you can tell like when something feels wrong, or, the discomfort level. The little slit throat like that didn't really hinder her movement very much. We just needed her to be mindful of the tube so that it didn't rip. But for example, the big one that came like here, he couldn't really turn his neck this way and that. And I think kind of like what I touched on earlier, something else I really love is taking care of people. So as a makeup artist, it's also our responsibility to advocate for our actors and say, okay, I'm going to start this prosthetic when you're like setting up. I'm not going to start it sooner. I'm not going to have them sitting around with like half their face covered up for hours and hours. Like, we need to make a game plan. We need to get them in and get them out, especially something that we'll get into that can cover eyes, nose, mouth, that can be very restrictive and uncomfortable. And I think, different actors have different specialties, and we'll get into, what a creature performer is like. I should probably like hustle it along. I don't know how much time we have. This was our New Year's episode. This was fun. We had to do like 4 like New Year's looks in a day. So they were like 2003, 2004, 2005, like send them out, they go shoot it, send them back in, scrub them, do it again, like back and forth. And that was really fun. And I loved this actress so much. I let her eat in my chair, which is something I don't let a lot of people do. Here she is with 2 of her New Year's looks. So fun. And here is another actor, Chester Lockhart, with their New Year's looks, which was also very fun because they are a very beautiful individual, and it was really great doing their makeup. This was another episode, my Valentine, and this was like about as perfect as you could get for me because it was glitter and blood together. It was everything that I liked. The basic plot of this is our protagonist, Valentine, has her look taken by an abusive boyfriend and put onto another girl, and then that girl becomes like super famous with her songs. This on the left is an example of a continuity photo. Blood continuity is tricky and important. So, this in the trailer, we print it out or we have it in books or a shared drive or whatever. And so this way, if anyone needs to do a touch up, they can reference, okay, scene 62, she has this on her. And then there's another flashback of our fun little Valentine. This is the other girl, Treasure, Jack and her look. And then there's Valentine having a good time. This one is really fun. It kind of has like a Scott Pilgrim vibe, and it's a really good episode to watch. And I got along so perfectly with the director. I loved the color palette. I loved the glitter. It was great. It was a really, really fun time. There's Treasure again. Okay, so Puka. This was intense. This was an episode that we did that was the sequel to the first Puka from Into the Dark. The concept here is that our cuddly, fun little Puka guy is becoming turned into a demon. So we had to start with this teddy bear mascot and end with, I think it's the next picture, with this stripped down skeletal kind of mangy version. For this, I looked at a lot of like albino monkeys for like color concepts. There was a lot of cool stuff in nature. I looked at like horse patterns for paint schemes and everything. And for this, we ended up working with a special effects shop to do the specialty work. And we hired, upon my insistence, a creature performer that I really love working with, that I knew could get the right look. So for a makeup like this, you really want to hire someone who adds to it. So he's very tall, very slender, and has a lot of experience creeping around. And the other big thing with this actor that I was pushing for is that he plays the drone character on Westworld, who is a blind, mouthless, faceless creature. So I know that he has experience working with very limited vision, very limited air. So this, we ended up going with a cowl. This is an example of sculpting directly onto his life cast so that it fit him exactly, a little too exactly, because there were some problems running power up the scalp for the light up eyes. And this was really interesting because we had to work with costume department, the electric department for the eyes, special effects, and then makeup. So I pretty much took point on but I worked with a lot of different people, and then it has to look how the director likes. The actor has to be able to breathe in this heavy encapsulated silicone operation. And we decided to go with this mask so that he can pull it on and off, because having him in this for a long period of time was just not an option. So that was an example of when I had to, really advocate for the actor and say, this is what we can do, this is what we can't do. We need to be ready for him to take breaks. This needs to be, a quick on and off. I don't want him sitting around with this like 30-pound mask on. And as you can see, it comes down over his shoulders. So he couldn't lift up too high. It had to be, down here. Given more time, I think we would have refined the design a little bit, but this was made in like 2.5 weeks. It was like real fast. So he ended up playing two to three versions of this Puka character. So there is Alex Ward, our actor. At one point, the Puka is in Lederhosen. That was the in between the mascot and the like real skeletal version. So that was another head that he could take on and off, and then a bodysuit, and then we had the gloves that we reused for this version and the skeletal version. So this was like a really great example of being creative and figuring out ways that you can reuse things and work quickly, work within a pretty constrained budget, and also try to keep your actor alive during all of this. And it was definitely uncomfortable for Alex. There was some hard times, and he was a trooper. I don't know. That's it for Puka.
There is a question about deadlines. What happens if you don't make one for the director?
So I think there's generally the director doesn't really have a big part in the deadlines or the money. Like they're all in their creative world where they're like, what if we just did this? And then they were underwater for like an hour. Like, let's just do it. And then we're like, yeah, sounds great. And then me and the producers turn around and we're like, how are we going to do this? Like, oh my God, what's going to happen? I think it just takes practice. This was a hard one. I think it's just like you just kind of either have to make the deadline, or there has to be like a good reason where it's like, well, you moved the shoot date. So that's what happened on this. He was supposed to only shoot the last week of the movie as this character. We're going to get all of his scenes so that the special effects shop and us could have time to practice, to troubleshoot. That time, of course, got whittled down. So there was a lot of on the day, making it happen. So I think trying to think of like a good example of like if a deadline goes by and it doesn't get met. I mean, there's usually so many things that go into it beyond like, oh, I just didn't do it. I mean, there's a reason why so many effects artists are like up all night in their shop at all hours of the night and day, like working like mad. And I think a big part of it is you just have to advocate for yourself. You just have to know, how many people do I need to get this done? And as this project progressed to meet the deadlines, it was like, well, you moved the shoot dates. We need 4 additional people to come into the shop to like run things and get it done. And then on the day, there was stuff that like the fur needed to all be laid. So we said, okay, bring him in early. We can start the application, because it was a combination of a body paint, arms painted, his back. I didn't have a good picture, but we ended up doing, as you can see on his belly, the circle. I had the idea that it would translate into like a scarification look on the, hairless one. But there was a lot of things that got reused. His fun little furry pants were reused for the demon Puka. The gloves were reused, and there was just a lot of people that came together to make it happen. There's, costume department helped sew in the battery pouch into the outfit for the eyes, and we needed to get the mask to electric so they could wire the eyes, but then they broke one of the eyes. So then that was a whole thing that we had to do. And I think, I was the makeup department head, and I really enjoy that position because I feel like I operate very well under those kinds of pressures. And I've learned over the years, to advocate, like, we need this. This is an unacceptable demand. Like, this is what you can get. And I think, you kind of learn that you offer less and then you like over deliver. So you're not like, oh yeah, we're gonna make this the craziest, most amazing thing. We're like, we're gonna do our best and it's gonna be cool. And then when it's super cool, they're like, oh my God, you guys are amazing. Like, whoa. So I think there's definitely some set politics that you learn. And I think that is one thing that is hard to teach, but you learn a lot through experience of, okay, well that happened, so let's never have that happen again. So that's a good example of that.
One thing I think I would like to highlight that you touched on briefly, but just from the windows that I've had into, pretty much if you go into production support in theater, film, anything like that, there will be late nights. Sometimes there will be missed nights where because deadlines have to be met. So
yeah, it's definitely those kinds of things, and overtime, and a film day starts at 12 hours. That's not including driving. That's not including pre-calls. Makeup artists get pre-called a lot of the time so that when everyone is there at 9 a.m. and the 12 hours starts, the actors are ready to go. So there's, as a makeup artist, I think a 14-hour day is pretty average. If I've had like a 10-hour day, I'm like, oh my God, I have so much energy. It's like such a chill time. And then, going into overtime, and definitely if you work in the lab sides of things, you push yourself to meet those deadlines. And I hire people for that. So I don't do as much of the actual builds. I do more of the design process, and I'm the like go-between with the producers and the director. But it's important to know how the build process works so that, like I said, you can advocate for your special effects artists. You need to know like how an actor is gonna feel in something. And luckily, Alex is a friend of mine, so he could speak very candidly to me, being like, this, we got to change. He said at one point, he was like, we got to change the mouth. I need to be able to breathe more. So we put like a mesh in there and like ripped a lot of stuff out to give him more room in that area. So it's a very collaborative thing, especially a build like this, where you need to trust in a lot of different people to do what they need to do, and but also keep an eye and make sure that things are moving along at the pace that they need to be, and making sure that everybody has what they need. So the special effects team is losing their minds at 3 a.m. We say, okay, we need to hire like 2 other people for them so that they can like eat something. And not push yourself. But the burnout is definitely very real in this industry. So that's why, knowing what you need is really important, and being able to say, this is what I'm worth and this is what I can do for you. And if that doesn't work for you, then okay, bye.
We're getting close to the end of our time, so I didn't know if there are other pieces you want to work, or if we want to shift into seeing if there are any more general questions.
Yeah, we can see if there's questions. I just tossed a couple like cool beauty shots at the end of stuff I like. This is one of my friends, and then we just did this for fun. And this one actually is a cool example of lighting. I knew this was going to be only lit red, so red takes out pretty much all the color. And so this was all about creating contrast within that parameter, which was fun. And then I think I have one glitter. Yay, my glitter friends. Talk about a hard shoot in the middle of a desert, like doing glitter body paint. It was rough, but it was pretty.
Okay, so I have a question for you, Devan. I would love to know a little bit about your experience when you first started working with the makeup union, what are some of the things that happened then, and what was that experience like as you began working in that part of your career?
So I think, after I joined the union, a lot of the people, like I've mentioned, that have been there the whole time, my friends and this network that I had been building up until getting into the union, they were, welcomed me with open arms. And I think the week after I joined, I had my first union day on Star Trek Picard, and I was so nervous, no pressure, just going on to this huge show. But then when I got there, it was like, wait a minute, like, I know what I'm doing. Like, I know how to do this. And I was in the room with these people that I had idolized so much, these Emmy Award winning makeup artists. And they're talking to me like we're equals because, like we are, yeah, they're my boss, but we are artists. We're in the same union. And, I'm there for a reason. And I think having those moments, I also ended up working on American Horror Story 1984. And that was similarly like very cool. I was really nervous. The story of how I got onto Horror Story was one of my friends who worked on it was sick. And so she texted me and was like, can you come tonight and work tonight, like on this very small set, very intimate. I was like, oh my God. And I was like, no, I can do this. Like, trust yourself. Like, I am an artist. And those experiences were really rewarding because it's very validating to feel like I'm here for a reason. My work is good, and I can hang with these people, and there's still obviously so much to learn, so much that I want to do and places to grow. But I think like getting onto that set with these people that I've looked up to so much, is kind of like a moment that I had to take where I was like, yes, I worked hard and like, here I am. Like, it was very, very cool.
Awesome. I have another question for you. If you
Yes.
could send a message back in time to the Devan that was at PVPA, what would you tell yourself?
I think kind of like what I just said, I think I would tell myself to trust myself and trust my passion and my instinct, because I have built a career that, 14-year-old Devan would be so pumped to see. And I don't know, I just think that, telling my younger self that like it's okay to do what you love and you don't have to worry about, there's a lot of things to worry about, but just trusting that passion and trusting that you can do it. It's like, I know maybe it's like cheesy or cliche, but like I feel like that's what it is, where it's like I built this, I went on this journey to get to this place that I am, and there's still so much more that I want to do. But even getting here and being able to have a career that is something that I love so much, that gives my life so much joy, I think that is like the one thread that I tried to never let go of. And so I feel like I would be like, just keep doing that. Like, don't trust yourself, and don't forget like what the passion is and like what it's for.
Very cool. I don't think it's cliche. I think it's said repeatedly because it's incredibly important.
Very true. Yeah. And I think, there was that time after I graduated where I was like, oh, I guess I have to like go to college now. And then it was like, well, do I? Like, why? I mean, that's right for a lot of people, but like, I just wanted to keep going in this direction. And I think it's scary to do something different. But if you trust that that is what you need, then it's going to work out.
Okay, I want to throw one last question at you.
Yeah.
So that's kind of two-part. What were the things that your early education in PVPA prepared you well, like in terms of the foundation to send you forward into your future creative career? And what are areas that we could have supported your early education better? What could we have improved upon?
I mean, I think the most valuable thing about PVPA, and I'm assuming it's set up kind of similarly still, but like the opportunity to take so many different kinds of classes and try so much different like art. Like I feel like I was like, yeah, drawing's okay. And then I took your figure drawing class and I was like, wait, I'm super into this. And like I think, taking costume and even like playwriting and starting to get into this idea of like how all of these different arts like can ebb and flow and build on each other, was really valuable, just having the space to explore. And I think having like teachers that are artists and that understand passion and wanting to do stuff that like might not totally make sense. And you're like, all right, well, why don't you try and like let me know how it goes. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like ways that I could have been supported more. I mean, I had like a horrible middle school experience, so like going to PVPA was like the most liberating feeling for me, like being in a space where like I could just be myself. And like I know kids are still kids or whatever, but like there was just such a sense of community that there wasn't anywhere else. And I think the small classes really worked for me. And I don't know, I mean, less math maybe. Like I wasn't super into math, but now I need it as a department head. I have to do budgets and balance budgets, and so it all kind of worked together. So yeah, I don't know, there's not really anything that I can think of that I'm like, dang, if only I like had more of that or whatever. I just think that having it be such an encouraging environment to really just explore what you want to do, because a lot of places don't offer that, where it's like, oh, you have to pick like you get like one thing that you can do that's artistic or something. So I think just having so many opportunities and so many options. And I don't know if you still do this, but I remember with our assignments, if you're like not into like writing an essay, you can like do a play or something, like kind of alternate. You can like pitch an idea that you're like, okay, hear me out, what if I did this thing? And I think just like those kind of alternative ideas of ways to learn. Yeah, it was a very sneaky way of getting good at stuff.
Well, we still have we still do work like that, and especially flexibility. And I know even for me, I had a student in a design class several years ago who missed a lot of time because of their work with the Cadets Dance Company, right? And so they were out of class a lot for that and other reasons, and did not have the same projects in terms of the demonstration of the ideas that we were exploring. So instead, we worked out a project where she actually like looked at the choreography of a particular piece and broke it down as a series of images in terms of like how design applies to, because so much of dance is visual. So, that we still have that kind of flexibility and looking for connection points in between things that are usually broken apart that, we then need to be able to do math to do our bills. And
well, and I do think that like I said, like some of those classes that I was like, I want to do this, but this class is like, something kind of different. Like as I've gotten older and, explored more skills with, creature design, department heading, budgeting, even just day playing, being on something for like one day. There's a lot of stuff that has, it's built a foundation. A lot of those things that I tried when I was at PVPA, like figure drawing and playwriting and puppetry and like all of that. I'm like, oh, I like have seen, this, like I'll always remember our Audrey 2 from my year, where it was like such a thing that I'd never seen created in person, and seeing how things like that work, and just being like putting it in a way that's accessible is just really amazing. Yeah, it mattered a lot to me.
awesome. Thank you very much for indulging me in those little questions there.
Yeah, no, it's good. I'm having a good time.
express my sincere gratitude for you taking the time to reconnect with the people following in your footsteps at PVPA. So thank you so much, Devan. We really appreciate this.
Well, thank you for having me. This was really fun. And, you know, it's not a lot of work right now. So it is very fun to be able to talk about the process and the journey. And I saw one in the chat and it was, yes, FX makeup is definitely sticky. It's totally sticky. It shouldn't stay sticky the whole time though. It should dry at some point, but it's a lot of glue. But yeah, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for your questions and coming to join the talk.